Welcome to the CEO Camper Podcast, where we talk about being a badass CEO in business and life, but also getting out into nature more and making it really easy. I'm your host, Jessica Ryder, a 14-year veteran of camping and have 16 years of business driving teams and companies to purposeful growth under my belt. I am here to help you get out into nature, reset yourself so you can continue to be that badass CEO. So let's dive in to the CEO Camper Podcast.
So we're sitting here again with Russ, and again, the only way to get him to record a podcast with me is to do it in his element, which is our TV room, relaxed in our recliners. He's drinking coffee. It's Saturday morning. But what I wanted to talk about today was, everybody hears my perspective and my side of camping. So I wanted to share, or have Russ share, his side, his perspective.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do.
Why is it hard to do?
I'm not a sharer.
You aren't a sharer, that's right. But, so, let's talk a little bit about our camping journey. Like, you camped your whole life, right?
Yes.
And what did your family camp in?
I believe it was a 1982 Coleman pop-up.
So, did it have air conditioning?
No.
Did it have a bathroom?
It did, but it's not the bathroom you're thinking of.
Like, what is it?
It was basically a porta potty that you put into the camper and you could take out.
So, like a bucket.
Pretty much. It was a fancy bucket, but I mean,
It was a
basically
fancy
like
bucket.
a bucket. Yeah.
All right. So,
Emergency use only.
emergency use
To say
only.
the least.
So, whenever you, like, what did you like about camping then?
I don't even know. I don't know. It was, we went down with my dad's side of the family to Beaver Lake in Arkansas. So we got to see a lot of other people down there.
Yeah.
But just being outside, there's a lake. I mean, you could ride your bikes anywhere. It wasn't the same old stuff like you had at home.
You like being outside?
Yeah.
So, when you became a teenager or whatever, that's when you started hunting.
Yeah.
What did you like about...
I was hunting when I was little.
Well, yeah, but like what do you like about being out in the woods?
Now I just like, again, getting away from everybody.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if there's anything I liked. It was just basically how I was kind of brought up.
Yeah. So, when we got married, I tell the story that, like, I remember being at Target. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember being at Target with, like, the registration guns.
Mm-hmm.
And you went to, like, the outdoor tent aisle, and you registered for a tent. Like, I remember standing in that aisle. That's back when, like, Target, I don't know if they still do this, but, like, in that aisle, they had, like, little replicas of the tents. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do.
And we were, like, we stood in that aisle for a while.
And do you remember what you called that replica tent?
No, what? Well, I don't remember.
Really? You don't remember that?
No, what did I call it?
I thought it was a tent for dogs.
Oh, that's how much of an outdoor woman I was.
Right.
I thought the little replicas in the...
And we could get one for Smokes. I'm like, that's not what that is.
Smokey was our dachshund.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's how much... I didn't remember that. That's how much I knew about camping.
Anything about it.
So what did you... Like, I remember registering for the tent, and I remember being like, why do we need this? Do you want to tell them about our first camping trip?
When was the first camping trip that we did?
The one in November.
Oh, was that one?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it?
That's the first one that I vividly remember.
Okay.
So that trip was the first trip in our tent. We went up in November because we got married in October. So we went up in November. In November in Missouri, it can be hit or miss. Like, it could be nice and decent weather, or it can, like, snow and be freezing. So...
Probably after Thanksgiving, too, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I would imagine.
But, yeah, it had to have been because it would have been after deer season.
Right.
So anyway, we took the tent up. We stayed at the state park. We put the tent up, and then, was it Saturday midday, maybe?
Yeah.
I remember going to Casey's, which Casey's is a gas station, and getting chicken fingers and pizza for dinner,
Right.
which now looking back, I'm like, that is disgusting. Never eat that in my life again, as Rusty rolls his eyes. But do you remember sitting there on the air mattress, like just watching it, because it started sleeting.
It started raining.
It started raining.
Yeah.
And the tent started leaking.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying, like, oh, it's just a little drip. It'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
And then there were, like, 3 different places of drips.
Yeah. And then we found a lot of water on the floor as well.
Yeah.
Like,
So, we made the decision pretty quick that we were going to be floating by the morning
Right.
if we didn't do something.
Right.
And I remember, I'll remember this for my entire life. He looked at me, and you have to remember that when Rusty and I got married, like, I was 22. I guess we were both 22, and you were going to turn 23 that following year. But we were very headstrong. Both of us were stubborn as all get out. I know I was probably more stubborn than you.
Yeah. She didn't like listening very good.
Yeah. So, I just remember you looking at me going, if you shut up and listen, we will be out of here in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And we were.
Yeah.
And that was our first camping trip. And by the time we got home, we lived in an apartment then. By the time we got home, we just left everything in the bed of the truck. Went to bed. Because it was Saturday night
Right.
by the time we got home.
Late.
And then, and so we got up the next morning. There was like 4 inches of snow in the bed of our truck with all of our camping gear.
Yep.
It was crazy.
It was.
So, from there, we had that tent for a couple years, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
And then from there, people were telling us to get a camper, like a pop-up or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but we were so stubborn.
Right.
We didn't want to pay personal property tax
Yeah. Tight.
on,
Tight.
yeah. And so we got a bigger tent. And we got a 27-foot long tent. Why did you want that tent?
It was bigger.
But it was like huge.
Yeah. If one end leaked, they could go to the other end.
Okay, valid point.
It was 20. What was it? 27 by 12.
13.
13. That's what it was.
Because it was, remember, like most pads
Yeah, we're like
are 12. And
10
so
or
we
12.
we were like right at the end of the pad.
where you could get your stakes on either side of the pavement.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that tent was, I mean, we had that, for 3-4 years?
At least.
We didn't camp all that much with that tent. It was work. And
It
we
was, yeah.
had to buy a utility trailer to haul it.
Yeah.
Which meant personal property tax. We did not think that through very well.
No, we didn't.
What did you like about that tent?
It was big.
Yeah,
Roomy.
definitely roomy.
Yep.
How many fights do you think we had?
A lot.
How many, bad experiences did we have in that tent?
Bad experiences?
I don't know.
I don't know if we had any bad experiences, but
We had some crazy ones.
yeah.
Dogs escaped.
Yeah, that's true.
So our then dachshund would nose his way out of the
Doors.
doors, like the
The
zippers.
zippers,
The zippers came together like in a triangle, and he would nose it and get out. And then he would do a big enough hole that our Saint Bernard could then push it the rest of the way. And we woke up one morning and they were both outside of the tent. We freaked out.
Didn't know where they were.
Had no idea where they were. I would say that the other thing with that tent is we didn't camp. We didn't camp as much, and we certainly didn't stay as long. Like, we were out by 6 a.m.
Yeah,
on Sundays.
yeah, it was getting hot.
For those of you that don't know, Rusty Rider does not do hot.
No.
Does not do hot. So then, when we went to buy our first camper in 2015, what were your things going through your head? Like, what did you want in a camper?
Well, one AC.
Yeah.
Yeah. And probably a shower.
Yeah. That was basically it.
That was basically all I needed.
An AC and a shower.
Yep.
You could care less about the rest.
Right.
But you had requirements. Like we weren't going to buy a new truck at that point, so it had to fit within.
Oh, yeah, the weight capacity and all that good stuff for your truck, yeah.
Because we've seen bad situations where
Yeah.
People are hauling way too much weight for their vehicle.
Right.
And it causes a lot of problems.
Yeah. So that was more my nitpicky things instead of yours.
Yeah.
Didn't care what it looked like. That was your area.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know how much it weighed and under the weight limit and all that good stuff.
What did you like about our first camper?
It worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good first camper, I guess. It was easy.
Mm-hmm. But it was also very small for us. We felt like it was because it was also 27 foot long, but just the layout, like there was no couch, there was nowhere to relax in the camper.
The couch was the kitchen table.
Yeah, it was the table. And so having a really large dog didn't, like it just got really tight really fast. But it was a good camper. Also, it wasn't very tall. Like you almost hit your head.
But
it worked.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about the agreement that we originally had, which was we were going to stick with our truck that was paid for. But if you were ever to get a bigger truck, that meant I get to get a bigger camper.
Yep.
You remember making that agreement?
I remember you making that agreement.
And I feel like it was, 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months after we bought that camper, you were like, I need a new truck.
It's not that I needed it. I just didn't want to get stranded.
Yeah.
I knew if we got stranded, you'd be like, nope, I'm done. I don't want to do it no more.
So it's all about making sure that I kept camping?
Pretty much.
Got it.
All about you.
All about me.
All about you.
So you bought a new truck.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, 2, 3 months later? I was like, let's go look at campers.
Yeah, probably.
When we started looking at the new camper, what were your, requirements, or what did you want?
More room.
Yeah. Is that it?
Pretty much. And the fifth wheel.
Why did you want a fifth wheel? And for those that don't know what a fifth wheel is, it's where the front half of the truck goes into the front half of the camper goes into the bed of your truck.
Yeah.
So there's a fifth wheel, there's a tow behind, travel trailer, which, tows behind your truck, and a fifth wheel, half of it goes in your truck.
Not half of the camper.
Not half the camper, but the front half. Anyway.
First 4 feet.
Yeah. So you knew you wanted a fifth wheel, and you wanted more room.
Right.
Was there any other requirements?
That's pretty much it.
You're so basic. You're so easy.
Right.
I'm the high maintenance one with all.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
For those that don't know, though, you have some high maintenance tendencies.
No.
Yeah.
Like what?
Your bucket of tools. Good grief! That has.
About camper.
Well, you kind of do when it comes to the under compartment storage.
Right.
And you are a perfectionist. So one of the biggest things that aggravates me is that whenever we back into a site, I'm like, okay, you're straight, you're good. And you're like, no, I need to straighten it out 7 more times. And it's 3. You go up and back and up and back and up and back. I'm like, good grief, just park the darn thing.
You'd have it sideways in there.
I would not.
You would be close.
Anyway, you're a perfectionist when it comes to that.
Maybe.
There's no maybe about that. All right, so we bought the fifth wheel. And how do you feel like our whole camping game experience completely changed when we bought the fifth wheel? Or I think it changed when we bought the first camper, but
right. Yeah.
But when we bought the fifth wheel, that was major nice camper.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about some of our horror stories. Do you remember the time that the plug caught on fire in our first camper?
Mm-hmm.
That was scary. So we were plugged in. We were at a Corps of Engineer Park, and it was midday. I was taking the dogs back from the river. to like just let him sleep in the camper for a couple of hours, and I went back and bumped down the air because it was a little warm in the camper, so I like just hit the air to bump it down, and the breaker popped. And I was like, oh shoot. So I went out to the electric box to flip the breaker back on, and the entire plug was on fire. That was crazy. So I was like running back to the riverbank.
Which was not close.
Which was not close at all. I mean, I would say at least a half a mile. Every bit of a half a mile. Back to where Rusty was, like, screaming and yelling, the camper's on fire!
Yeah.
That was a bad experience.
Right.
What other, like... And this is not to discourage you all. It's really just to kind of say, like, shit happens.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, like, it can happen. I mean, just this year, good grief. I mean, we forgot keys. We forgot insulin. We tend to always have problems with our jacks. Like, shit happens, like, every trip, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just to what extent it is.
Yeah. How would you say that, like, you're a pretty handy guy. Like, you're in construction for your day job. So, like, you're pretty handy when it comes to figuring things out. What would you say for people that aren't handy? Like, what are a couple things they should bring with them?
That's a good question.
Like, I feel like the bucket of tools is, like...
Yeah. Just a hodgepodge of...
Yeah, and so for you guys that don't know what that is, like, it's literally a 5-gallon bucket from Home Depot, and then it's this, like, like, insert?
It's an insert that goes over it with pockets.
With all kinds of pockets, and then Rusty, over the years, has just filled those pockets with screwdrivers and wrenches and tape measures and hammers and duct tape and tie wire and levels, and there's just all kinds of stuff in this bucket that just gets thrown in the camper with us because you just never know. I think the key is for people that aren't handy, like, you have to just know how to use a hammer and a screwdriver and a wrench, but, like, all that stuff's in there.
Right.
Are there any other, like, crazy time? I don't know that we've ever had any other, like, crazy experiences.
Not that I know of.
I mean, most of the time our trips are pretty easy.
Right, usually.
Knock on wood, we've never hit anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You rolled into a tree a little bit.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
One job. See it, one job.
One job, I have to back him in. He slightly hit a tree. No damage. It was just the bumper. It was just the bumper.
It wasn't even a bumper. It was a rack on the back of the camper.
Yeah. I think one thing that we always laugh about is, like, people's system for backing in, because inevitably the wife always stands where the husband can't see.
Yep.
And that was we did that for a long time.
Yeah, you did.
Finally, you got to the point where you're like, you have to stand where you can see my mirror. If you can't see my mirror, I can't see you.
Right.
And I would say that there's times now that, like, just whatever way you're angled to back in, like, I can't see your mirror, but I trust, because I know how much you can correct it and how much you can move that camper, that, like, you can be pushing it a certain way for a while, and then I know that I can be like, okay, whip it the other way, and you can correct it. Like,
yeah, I'd say for the most part.
Yeah. Where did you get the confidence to start backing things up? Because, guys, we didn't know anything about travel trailers, we didn't know anything about campers when we bought ours.
Right.
But I feel like we just kind of, like, jumped in and figured it out.
Yeah.
You had some experience backing up trailers.
Yeah, I would say as a kid, not that I did it a lot, but I backed boat trailers into the water.
Yeah.
Before, but not a lot. I mean, basically just to get this concept down.
Right.
But.
And backing a travel trailer is completely different than backing a fifth wheel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Should I talk about my experience backing a travel trailer a couple weeks ago? Pat myself on the back?
Sure, go for it.
It's been a while since I had backed a travel trailer, and I was in a situation where I needed to pull a camper for somebody, and then I had to back it into this really tight spot inside a building that was, like, completely finished. Like, it wasn't a a garage or a workshop or anything like that. Like I was backing it into a showroom basically. And I did it. I was shocked at myself because it'd been a while since I backed a travel trailer up. But I wouldn't, like, it's, I think what would you say is the biggest thing that people, like, that keeps them from doing it or they're scared of?
I would say backing it up.
Yeah, but, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to backing up, like, what are they scared of?
Hitting something, damaging their vehicle.
Yeah.
Does it cut it too sharp?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that's probably about it.
It's kind of like, for us, it's kind of like, we've been there, done that. We've hit things, cut it too sharp.
It happens, yeah.
It happens.
Stop and redo it.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do.
Right?
I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say difficult, but it takes practice, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the first things that you did, even when we had the, we still have the utility trailer, but when we were camping with the tent and stuff, there was remember that one weekend that you had to work, so I went down early, like with our trailer and everything, and I would say, for a week before that or 2 weeks before that, we were at the high school at least a couple of times in the big parking lot, like, practicing me pulling, because I had never pulled a trailer before.
Right.
And so, we were practicing, like, backing up and turning and doing all that kind of stuff, so I got used to it.
Yeah.
My dad tells a really funny story about that, because I had both dogs by myself in our truck with how big's that trailer?
Oh, it's 12 foot. Yeah.
12 foot long?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I had all of our camping stuff on it. And I had to drive an hour to my dad's house to meet him, and then the camping place was another hour after that. And so you had told me before I left, like, just whatever you do, follow your dad.
Yeah.
And so once I met up with him, I'm just following Dad down the highway, and, like, anytime he veered to the right, I veered to the right. And then, like, he would go back to the left, and I would go back. Like, I literally followed his every move.
Right.
And my dad, I still remember him laughing about that.
Yep.
So what else, like, what advice would you give to husbands maybe that have never camped or that are nervous or anything like that?
As far as backing up goes, like, go find an empty parking lot somewhere.
Yeah.
And just see what it does when you start backing. I mean, that's really the only way to figure it out. If you don't have anybody to help you out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not terrible. Just it takes a little know-how to where when you pull into a campsite and you're backing in, how sharp or fast your trailer corrects itself when you're backing the truck in, and how far away you got to be to make it into that spot.
Yeah.
Well, little stuff like that.
What advice would you give wives?
Get in the mirror.
well, okay, so go beyond backing up. Like, is there any other advice you would give wives?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean,
are the things that I do on our trips that you like, or are the things that you don't like?
When I get it off the truck, you usually go in and start getting the inside going while I get the outside stuff going.
So we have a pretty good system.
I think it works for us.
I know. I feel like that's always what I tell people, is just to get a good system. Even when we go to back up, like, a lot of our trips in the fall it's dark by the time we get to the campground, which can cause a whole nother level of stress trying to back up in the dark. It's not like there's street lights or anything.
No, it's dark.
And it's taken us years to get to the flashlight system that we have now, but it keeps us from yelling at each other.
Right.
But yeah, even like me getting out of the truck. Do the dogs stay in the truck or they get out? Now they stay in the truck. Right. Where I stand to get you backed in, and, like, there's a whole, like, system to that. And then, like you said, once it's off the truck and you get it level, then we can put the slides out.
Right.
And really, like, the inside stuff, I have most of that done. It's just putting a couple things away by the time we get there. Anything else that you would tell people?
Try to have fun.
Yeah. Cool.
Pretty much.
Well,
so,
thanks for being on the podcast.
yeah.
I know you enjoy it.
Yeah, I love them.
We're probably going to take a nap in our recliners now, aren't we?
Maybe.
All right. Guys, thank you for joining us today. I don't know how much more Rusty's going to be on the podcast, but if you like it, if you like Rusty, send him a DM on Instagram. He is at Rusty Doesn't Insta without the apostrophe. I'll put his handle in the show notes so you can hit him up and DM him if you have questions about camping or what it's like to be married to a female entrepreneur or wannabe entrepreneur. Or how we make our systems work. Hit up Rusty. Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Thank you for listening today. As you can tell, I am pretty passionate about business, camping, and balancing them both in my daily life. If you want to connect with me more, I included all the links in the show notes, including my camping brand Pull Through Sites, my personal pages, and also a really quick questionnaire to figure out how I can help customize your camping experience. I appreciate you, and I hope you got something out of the show today. If you did, please share this with someone else who needs to hear it, and leave a review. If you leave a review, I'll send you a free copy of my book, How Camping Saved My Life: The Journey from Hospital Bed to Nature. Thanks again. Talk soon.